Scientists have been attempting to raise awareness about climate change for decades, and one of the key demographics they've been trying to reach is Christians. However, some individuals have accused scientists of manipulating Christians about climate change. This accusation is based on the idea that scientists are using tactics to persuade Christians to adopt their views on climate change, rather than presenting the facts in a neutral manner. One way that scientists have been accused of manipulating Christians is by using biblical language and imagery to make their message more relatable and persuasive. For example, some scientists have referred to climate change as a moral crisis or sin against God's creation. This type of language is intended to resonate with Christians who believe in the importance of stewardship and caring for the environment. However, some critics argue that this approach is manipulative because it uses emotional appeals rather than presenting the scientific facts in a straightforward manner. Another way that scientists have been accused of manipulating Christians is by partnering with Christian organizations and leaders to promote their message. For example, some scientists have worked with evangelical Christian groups to develop educational materials and programs that teach about climate change from a Christian perspective. While these partnerships may be well-intentioned, some critics argue that they are an attempt to use Christian leaders as a way to reach a larger audience and promote a particular agenda. Some scientists have also been accused of exaggerating the threat of climate change in order to scare Christians into taking action. For example, some scientists have predicted catastrophic consequences if climate change is not addressed, such as rising sea levels, more frequent natural disasters, and extreme weather events. While these predictions are based on scientific models and data, some critics argue that they are exaggerated and intended to manipulate Christians into adopting a particular worldview. However, it's worth noting that many Christians are already concerned about climate change and are actively working to address the issue. In fact, many Christian denominations and organizations have issued statements and policies calling for action on climate change. For example, the Vatican has issued a number of statements on climate change, including a papal encyclical that emphasizes the importance of caring for the environment and promoting sustainability. Additionally, many scientists who are Christians themselves are working to raise awareness about climate change and promote sustainable practices within their communities. These scientists argue that caring for the environment is a fundamental aspect of Christian stewardship and that climate change is a moral and spiritual issue, not just a scientific one. It's also important to recognize that the accusation of manipulation is often based on a misunderstanding of the scientific process and the ways in which scientists communicate their findings. Scientists are not trying to manipulate Christians or anyone else, but rather to present the facts and evidence about climate change in a clear and compelling manner. While scientists may use persuasive language and tactics to make a message more effective, this does not necessarily mean that they're being manipulative. In conclusion, the accusation that scientists are manipulating Christians about climate change is complex and multifaceted. While some critics argue that scientists are using tactics such as biblical language and partnerships with Christian organizations to promote their message, others argue that these approaches are necessary to raise awareness and promote action on this critical issue. Ultimately, the key to addressing climate change is to present the facts and evidence in a clear and compelling manner, and to work together to find solutions that are based on science, morality, and a commitment to caring for the environment. By doing so, we can promote a more sustainable and equitable future for all, regardless of our religious beliefs or affiliations.